How are we all doing? I hope you're well. I'm just going to show you the next job that we're going to do. It's a Volkswagen Golf R, and it's in for, we've got to do the bonnet for stone chips, front bumper for stone chips, so we'll be taking that off and stripping that down. No real major damage, just chippy and a few bird line marks and stuff. We've also got to do both quarter panels. There's a little bit of rust blistering on this corner, a couple of little dings, nothing major, and the same on the other quarter panel. A little bit of a rust scab there, nothing major, clean up no problem. And then we'll lacquer out the quarters, so we'll blend that and lacquer out the quarters. And then we're going to do a 3-stage machine polish over the rest of it. So it's a pretty decent straight car, just the usual light scratching and car wash scratching and a few bird line marks. So yeah, that's it on this one. Pretty straightforward job, nice colour. Don't know what the colour will be like yet, but we'll soon find out. We're going to go edge to edge with the wings. It's got a bit of a different angle. Wow, there. I suppose it's more face on actually than angled away. But we'll check the colour out. But yeah, we won't be blending it, I don't think. Again, it's quite a hard one sometimes. Really, you know, we should be. Anything you paint, you should be blending it to guarantee colour, but you've got to try and suit everyone's budgets, haven't you? And try and suit, you know, try and price it that you're not going to price yourself out of the job. It's a tricky one. It is a tricky one. You know, especially sort of being the size of the body shop that we are. You sort of end up having to explain yourself all the time, explain why you're charging it, and it becomes a bit of a habit sometimes that you're automatically, as soon as you're giving someone a price for something, you're sort of almost, you're there ready and waiting to explain why you've given that price, even if they haven't even quibbled the price. It's yeah, I do find it a bit of a battle sometimes. You know, I try to take a lot of pride in the jobs that we do here, especially when you're doing it for yourself. You know, loads of people out there know exactly where I'm coming from. When you're doing it for yourself, it's you're doing the job, and it's your own business, and you're doing the job yourself. You sort of, yeah, sometimes you can take it a little bit personally, and you know, it's your name and reputation on the job as well, you know. But I do love my job. I do love painting cars. And it sounds silly, but I would do it as a hobby. If I won the lottery, I would do it as a hobby. I do really enjoy it. It's the business side can be stressful. I'm not that great I do a good job. Well, I think I do a good job. But my customer service ain't great, but we can't be good at all of it. But yeah, trying to have to deal with all the aspects of it. That, you know, when I started doing this for myself, it was a big learning curve, that side of things. But yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for everything really. So yeah, Reese is going to start stripping this job, so we get the front bumper off. And then yeah, it's pretty simple repairs and paint preparation. All right then, my babbers. Right, so now the Golf R's all stripped, and start doing the paint prep on it. Bonnet's quite bad actually, worse than what we thought. It's absolutely peppered in chips. I don't know if they show up much on that on the camera, but yeah, it's not the prettiest. So we start prepping that. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm probably going to sand out the majority of them across the front with 180 and finish it off in 240. Then I'll 320 the whole bonnet, see where we're at with the rest of it, and start filling them. And yeah, probably just going to prime the whole bonnet, it'd be easier. And then ones that I may miss. So the trouble is, if you start trying to sand out all these chips on the flats, you're going to you can end up putting ripples and highs and lows in it on a bonnet, because this one's quite rigid. But yeah, I find it's better just to go around with fine filler like dolphin glaze and fill them all in, as many as you can see, and then prime it, and then you'll see ones that you've missed in the primer. Then yeah, the front's okay. I'll probably end up buzzing most of that off on the front, but the rest of it I'll fill them, and then I'll just prime the bonnet. So that's what I'm going to do with that. Reese has prepped most of the bumper now. Again, this was absolutely peppered in chips. So we took most of the paint off of it, to be fair, and we're just going to 2-pack prime all that bonnet. Reese is just filling a few bits now, and then we've got these little bits of rust to do, only small, which again I'll just probably roll up, green wheel them off with the bristle wheels, and then prep it out, like blend it out, sand it out, a bit of epoxy and a bit of primer on there, a couple of little dings somewhere there, I'll address them as well. And then we get the quarter panels prepped as well for paint. So that's where we're at now with this Golf. So I'll get the camera set up and I'll start preparing the bonnet. Right, so that's the Golf R's all prepped now, ready for primer. So we're going to prime the whole bonnet. So basically I've sanded all the front out with 180 and then 240, got the majority of the chips out. Then the rest of it, I've gone around, found what I can, I just filled them in with fine filler. So I used UPO Dolphin Glaze for that. There's probably a few more that I haven't got. I just find it's better to do it like this, and I'm going to prime the whole bonnet, than to start trying to sand out. It's okay on these rounded areas to sand it right through, but I'm going to create loads of wobbles and dips if I try to sand all these chips out. So it's best to just fill them up a bit, prime it all, and then I'll be able to see in the primer then ones that I've missed. So then it's just at 320, so I put the filler in, Dolphin Glaze, now I scrape it off with a blade, with a new razor blade, and then a little bit of blocking with 320, and I'll just run the machine sander, dual action sander over it with 320, so it's all in 320. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up some high build. I've got two options in Mipa. I've got like a high build, which has got 10% thinner, and then they got what they call a compact filler, which is a bit thinner. So I'm going to just mix two. I'm going to put the compact filler on the bonnet so it's thinner, because I don't really need a massive amount of high build on here. And as well, again, if I put too much material on there and layer up the primer on there and make it thick, it can create a little bit of wobble, it could create a little bit of ripple. It doesn't really need it. So it'd be 3 good coats, but the thinner version of it, so it's nice and smooth and not so thick and aggressive, you know, because I'm not filling in loads of filler or repairs, and that'd be fine for that, with a bit of blocking and then machining off. That'd be fine for the bonnet. And then I'm going to stick a little bit of epoxy on these bare metal areas, and the same on here. I've already stuck a little bit on this wheel arch. Just a little bit of aerosol epoxy. There was no pitting, nothing. Them little tiny little rust spots just come right off. And then I'll put the high build, so the thicker mixing ratio with the Mipa 4+1, which has got 10% thinner in it. That's what's going to go on the bumper, and I'll get 3 good coats on the bumper. Reese has filled in a few chips, bulky chips that he could find once he sanded it all down. Again, there's going to be more chips, but we'll get all the primer on there, then we can see, we'll be able to see prop chips that we've missed. So yeah, I'll get the primers mixed up, and I'll just do them in 2 separate pots, and I can just swap them out off my gun for the different applications. I know it's a little bit long-winded doing two different primers, but it don't take that much longer, and I'd rather just put a smoother, thinner primer on the bonnet. Just makes it easier to sand, and we can try and keep the shape of the bonnet there without causing any distortions or any imperfections in it by putting too much material on there. Right, that's the Golf all primed now, and yeah, there's a few chips that were missed. It's a little bit shocking actually how many I missed. But I'll give you a quick look. That's how many chips I missed, and there's probably more. So I'm gonna give it another check in a minute and go round. But yeah, I find it better to do it this way when something like this is absolutely covered in chips, to try and take out all the paint or just take out the chips by sanding it all. You can create little wobbles and little divots and highs and lows across the flat. So that's why I took the majority of it out on the curved area, because it's a bit more forgiving for feathering out. But just try and sand all that paint out and sand it all off. It's quite time consuming, and like I say, you can create a few highs and lows and ripples in it. So yeah, I do what I can sort of see after it's sanded. I don't go too mad, and then I just get some primer on it. Once I get the primer on it, then I can really see where the chips are that I've missed. So these are all blending no problem. So that's just dolphin glaze on that. I'll just give it a good block in. I can see some more chips now, so I'm going to put a bit more in. So yeah, give it a good block in with 320, and then machine it, and that should get the blocking down the filler, these little bits of filler with the primer. They're not proud, so I sort of wipe it in and then scrape it out, sort of thing. So yeah, they're all blending nice, and it should look nice and straight and almost chip free, hopefully. So yeah, that's the bonnet anyway. And then the primer's on the quarters for the little bits of rust that were on there. And again, the bumper, really sanded most of the paint out on this, and done some bulky ones that you could see, some chunky chips. And then yeah, then we could, with the primer on there, it's highlighted more that we couldn't see beforehand. And so yeah, we've gone around that as well. So that's that stage done. I'll get it all demasked, get it out, and I'll start prepping it up. Right, so I'm going to start prepping the bonnet now on this Golf R. So I'm going to guide coat it, then I'm going to block it all with 320 grit, and then once I've blocked it all with 320 grit, I'll guide coat it again and machine it with a dual action sander with 500 grit with a soft pad, interface pad on that. Come in. Stand there. Hi. Just stand there. No, don't stand there. Everyone just stand there. Now you're going to be on YouTube now.